But I guess I just wanted to open, because it's really hard. There feels like an elephant in the room, and that elephant is Sarah Palin, because or lipstick on an elephant, because that's what Matt's most recent column is about. That is sort of it just feels like what everybody wants to talk about. And actually, in the most recent column that Rick has participated in authoring, but you told me you had a big part in, the endorsement of Barack Obama by the New Yorker, I actually found it very interesting that Sarah Palin only got a paragraph. So I guess I'm going to start with that, and we'll just wend our way forward from there. So Rick, I just wanted to ask you about the backstory on why you decided in a 4,000 plus word piece to only accord Sarah Palin a paragraph.
Okay. Now, can everybody hear all right? Good, okay. Well, before I do that, I'm going to pull a Sarah Palin myself and talk about something completely different. I'm here not just because of this wonderful audience and everything, but for two other reasons. One is that I love Catherine Williams, and I have for several decades. I won't say how many. So when she says jump, how high? And also because I'm really interested in getting my copy of the Great Derangement signed too. I've never met Matt, but I read this book with the greatest pleasure. I mean, just real profound enjoyment, and I recommend it to everybody.
There's no table.
Well, we've sort of dealt with Sarah Palin earlier a bit, but the elections between Obama and McCain, and the only thing really there is to say, well, hardly the only thing there is to say, but in trying to decide who one should vote for, once you said that Sarah Palin is preposterously unqualified, it's not just her views. Those are deplorable, but they're deplorable in a way that we've grown used to over the years. Once you've said that, and you've pointed out that John McCain is 72 years old and in different health, that's pretty much all there is to say in an endorsement. We did this endorsement. This is the second one we've done. The New Yorker never, ever did this before 2004. We did it last time. We endorsed Kerry. I guess the big difference between this endorsement and that endorsement is this one's a lot more positive. I mean, this one isn't. We were for John Kerry. I think this country would be infinitely better off if John Kerry had won that election. But we weren't passionate about him the way we are about Obama. I mean, I think this is a great, undeserved opportunity for the country. I mean, we don't really deserve a candidate like Barack Obama. We deserve roughly a candidate like John McCain. You know, not as bad in most ways as the other Republicans, but only about as, to paraphrase my old boss, Jimmy Carter, only about as good and decent and honest and full of love as the American people, and no more. But Obama is you know, the first election that I took a look at was 1952, when I trailed along behind my mother, who was going door to door for Adlai Stevenson, and everybody who's opened their doors said, well, you know, the Democrats have been in for 20 years, it's time for a change. And I loved Adlai Stevenson, and I've loved a few of the other candidates that have come along, especially Bobby Kennedy. But Obama, I think Obama is potentially another Lincoln.
Wow. Well, he certainly excites response.
Yeah, we can get into the details of why I think that. All right, that's the answer.
I'm gonna make a note that we should follow up on that.
And what time is this being broadcast again?
It's only on channel 482.
I like the fact that you talked about, he's more than we deserve and stuff, because that segues me nicely into something that I highlighted in Matt's most recent column about Sarah Palin. It was a little dystopic about the American people. I'm just going to read a little bit. He sets it up that, you can send your kids off by the thousand to get their balls blown off in foreign lands for no reason at all. Saddle them, he wrote it, saddle them with billions in debt year after congressional year while they spend their winters cheerfully watching game shows and football, pull the rug from under their mortgages, ellipsis, and none of it matters so long as you remember a few months before Election Day to offer them a 2-bit caricature culled from some cutting room floor episode of Roseanne as part of your presidential ticket. And if she's a good enough likeness of a loudmouth middle American archetype as Sarah Palin is, John Q. Public will drop his giant-sized bag of Doritos in gratitude, wipe the sizzling picante dust from his lips, and rush to the booth to vote for her. There is more in that vein. But I was really struck by the esteem in which you hold the electorate. And I just wanted to see if you would expand on that a little bit from your experiences on the campaign trail. Do you really think the electorate is that dumb? Or do you have a little bit of faith?
Well, I mean, we elected a president who doesn't read, twice. So.
Only once.
Well, that's true. That's true. Just before I get into that, I have to say, just to return the compliment. People often ask me who I follow and who I read as a source of news during the political season. And the answer usually is like nobody. I actually just watch ESPN most of the time. But actually I do read Your Stuff faithfully. You're actually the only person I do read out of all of them. So I just wanted to mention that to begin with. Getting back to the electorate. Yeah, I mean, the thing is people, what they're proving now with the Sarah Palin thing is that, it used to be that you would present a caricature or some kind of archetypal sort of cartoon that voters would recognize in order to sell some kind of policy. Well, this time there's no policy. There's no issues underneath it. It's just a cartoon that they're selling. And people, what they're showing is that you don't really have to stand for anything or even talk about any issues at all. And you can get 45% of the vote just doing that. And that's an incredible statement. Just to show that we're at this point in our history where the kinds of completely transparent, idiotic tactics that are being used every day now, that they're working with an enormous plurality of people in this country. I mean, yeah. What else can you say about the electorate at this point if it's working to this degree?
Well, I mean, you sort of mentioned people you observed at the RNC in your piece, but you've been on the trail sort of this whole time at Obama events and at Republican events. So, is this something that you've seen as being like homogenous across the board, or is there any reason for hope?
Well, no. I mean, I think there is a lot of hope, and I think this election of Barack Obama is going to change a lot of things for a lot of reasons. But yeah, I mean, I think this is that kind of instinct to make an anti-intellectual response and respond to these kinds of tactics. It's all over the country. I mean, everywhere I go, I run into the same people who say the same kinds of things everywhere. The story I like to tell most is when I was in New Orleans, and I was talking to this one guy, and I asked him why he didn't like Barack Obama, and he said, the thing is, you either are or you aren't, and he aren't. and I just get that stuff a lot. People already, they decide ahead of time that this guy isn't one of them, and that's all they want to do. That's all they want to know. And it's really, I think, a race-based appeal, more or less. I think these, what they're really trying to, the Republicans are constantly trying to sell, is that the Democrats are, they're traitors, they're not American, that they're not somehow like you, like ordinary Americans. And it works with an awful lot of people, but I think that one thing that makes this Obama election different is that if we go ahead and actually elect a black president, it's just going to prove that these kinds of tactics will never work again. I mean, I think that they'll be reluctant to do that ever again if they get a big enough majority in this race. I mean, would you agree?
No. No, I think they will do it again. I mean, the strong point of democracy has never been that the electorate picks the right person. I mean, most of the time, well, about half the time, the electorate, it's sort of, it's like rolling dice. I mean, it comes up about half the time that the electorate elects the right person.
By the way, when Bill Clinton talked about rolling dice, a lot of people complained. I'm just going to put that out there.
You what?
Remember Bill Clinton talked about rolling the dice with Obama?
Oh, yeah, he did. It turns out, though, that McCain is the guy who really rolls the dice.
That's
Literally
right.
and
He
metaphorically.
holds that little, yeah.
I mean, he loves to play craps in Vegas. They have to lock him in his room.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, remember there was a show the other day where he was at, well, if you were a betting man, what would you say? And he said, I am a betting man.
Yeah, well,
it was on Nightly News where your dad often appears. Just wanted to throw that out there, right?
Yeah.
He does? Who's your dad?
Mike Taibbi, but yeah.
Well, A, I read the bios. I mean, come on. But B, I watch the news. Everybody. I hope everybody watches the news. The news
The good
is
thing
important.
about democracy is not that it picks the right people. It's that that the person that is picked has a certain legitimacy. You know, it's for social peace. We all agree that whoever gets the most, in other elections other than the presidential election, we agree that whoever gets the most votes wins. And we sort of think that's the way it usually works in the presidential election, too. So that's what's good about it. I mean, people have always, the American electorate has the 20th, parts of the 20th century are sort of misleading because we did pick FDR 4 times. That was good. We picked JFK. We sort of picked Clinton. So most of the time, or a lot of the time in the 20th century, we picked the right people. But in the 19th century, we just picked one dunderhead after another. But we kept the peace, except for the little problem of the Civil War.
But
That's when we elected Lincoln.